Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Manga Comic TV. This is going to be our reaction segment where we react to all your hottest takes on social media. And today we have Magneto versus Static Shock. So in the original post we had someone asking who do you think would win in a death match between Static Shock and Magneto. And someone else went on to state that Static Shock is going to humble the fuck out of Magneto. And this creator is going to give his take and I want to react to that. But if you don't want to watch his segment of the video, skip to the timestamp below because in short, this creator goes on to give his take on how he basically thinks that Static Shock is an absolute counter to Magneto and there's really nothing Magneto can do against Static Shock.
So I ran into this post that's asking, is Static Shock beating Magneto? I don't have enough knowledge for either side, lol, let me hear what you have to say. Let me tell you something. While Magneto most likely has stronger magnetic powers, Static Shock is literally just a complete counter to anything Magneto can do effectively.
Okay, so I seen someone in the comments make a statement saying that this is going to come down to whoever writes the fight. And I'm not so sure about that because in order for Static Shock to beat Magneto in one-on-one combat, you would have to rewrite Static Shock as one of the most overpowered characters in the DCU. First of all, for those who don't know who Static Shock is, Static Shock aka Virgil Hawkins is a superhero from the DCU that drew a lot of inspiration from Spider-Man, except Static Shock had the ability to control different forms of electricity. Static Shock is also an African American character who a lot of people like to compare to Black Lightning, whom is another popular African American character in the DC universe. Static Shock is a superhero created by Milestone Comics, with John Paul Leon being credited as the artist for Static Shock and Robert L. Washington III and Dwayne McDuffie being credited as the writer and co-writer of Static Shock. Static Shock made his first appearance in Icon's 1993 issue 1. Also, if you're in your 30s, you would have likely been around for the Static Shock TV show that premiered on WB back in the early 2000s. It was actually really good, and it's one of the early 2000s superhero shows that still hold up today, like Teen Titans, Young Justice, and Batman. Static Shock's powers allow him to control electromagnetic phenomena, in particular allowing him to manifest and manipulate both electric and magnetic energies. The superhero wiki goes on to state that Static Shock's powers can best be described as superconductor electromagnetism. The latter is one of the four fundamental forces of the universe. Using electricity, Static can telekinetically manipulate objects and generate force fields. Static Shock is also immune to psychic attacks due to his bioelectric force field. Furthermore, Static Shock is also literally a genius, which is very understated when viewing Static Shock lore. I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you guys that Static Shock is ridiculously strong. The guy is even extremely underrated compared to what a lot of people know about him in popular media. He's also displayed a limited ability to heal himself by channeling electromagnetic energy. I mean, the dude can literally absorb energy from any electrical source. So in theory, one would assume his power makes him omnipotent considering the fact that electricity runs in all things. And not just that, Static Shock can also manipulate metal with his mind, bending it to any form he wills. So with that said, one would assume that he's basically Magneto with more abilities, right? Well, yes and no. Now, who is Magneto? Well, Magneto is a character that shouldn't need any introduction whatsoever, as Magneto is a character created by Stan Lee and published by Marvel Comics and is often associated with the Xmen universe. Magneto is essentially an Omega level mutant that was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, with his first appearance being in X-Men issue 1 in 1963. Now when we talk about mutants in the X-Men universe, Omega level mutants are generally considered to be some of the most powerful mutants in all of existence. Omega level mutants are said to be so powerful that their power is generally considered to be almost incalculable. This is no exception for Magneto because if we're talking about the most powerful version of Magneto, he is not just one of the most powerful beings in all of the X-Men, he is also stated to be one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. What most people don't realize about Magneto is he can manipulate all forms of magnetism and summon force fields and shoot magnetic pulses that can cause disruption on a mass scale. Magneto is stated as being so strong that he can move Iron Man's armor, Captain America's shield, and Mjolnir using magnetism, and realistically, I only see Static Shock being able to do 2 out of 3 of those things. I don't see Static Shock being able to move Mjolnir, but maybe I'm wrong about that because we are talking about 2 totally different characters from 2 totally different universes. Magneto can manipulate the ion sphere, and he's pretty much capable of throwing off the entire magnetic field of the planet and pretty much destroying all life on Earth. Can Static Shock do this? I don't know, but fucking maybe. But he would never do it because he values innocent life too much, whereas Magneto wouldn't give a fuck. Magneto would do what it takes to win. In X-Men Red 5, Magneto goes toe-to-toe with a celestial Uranos, and Uranos ends up ripping out Magneto's heart. Bro literally rips out Magneto's heart, and you want to know the crazy part? Magneto survives, and I just don't think Static Shock can survive having his heart ripped out. During Magneto's run, which is still fucking going, at one point he was fighting Proteus where his blood got turned into lead and he was essentially suffering from lead poisoning. But not only did Magneto manage to keep his blood pumping and his vitals going during the course of the battle, but he was able to figure out how to use his shields to block reality warping. So when we look at the weaknesses of both these characters, Static Shock's primary weaknesses are insulators, as his powers have little to no effect on him. Wood seems to be one of the most difficult for him to deal with. Whereas when we look at Magneto's weaknesses, it's stated that Magneto's only weakness is plastic and physical condition, as manipulating energies instead of magnetism can take a toll on his body. And assuming this is the most powerful version of Magneto, I don't see that being an issue as much. So who wins in a fight between the most powerful version of Static Shock and the most powerful version of Magneto? The answer is, I don't know, but I would assume Magneto for the simple fact that there has been way too many times where Magneto has shown way too many crazy feats and kept himself alive when he should have been on the precipice of death, but instead this dude just literally refuses to die. All of Magneto's feats just dramatically outscale Static Shock's. In a deathmatch between Magneto and Static Shock, one would assume Magneto would win, partly because Static Shock has way too much on the line, whereas all Magneto has to do is worry about taking out Static Shock. When thinking of Static Shock versus Magneto, I almost picture that fight between Madara Uchiha and the Shinobi Alliance. I picture Static Shock in a crowded city full of people trying to protect them while Magneto is just dropping a big ass metallic comet on Static Shock's head. And even if he manages to stop the first one, is he going to stop the second one or the third one? I fucking doubt it. Anyway, in a fight between these two, I do not know who the victor would be, but one would assume Magneto for the simple fact that there's still people writing the X-Men comics with Magneto being a marquee part of the X-Men universe. And I have a gut feeling that the only thing that can actually beat Magneto is Father Time. So in conclusion, guys, who do I think would win a fight between these two? I don't know, but one would assume Magneto. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and sound off in the comments on who you think would win a death match between Static Shock and Magneto. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.